After Sunday's loss to the Jaguars, Lamar Jackson had an extremely vulgar response to someone on Twitter who was questioning his contractual demands and suggesting that the Ravens should let him go. Lamar Jackson later deleted the tweet. John Harbaugh was asked about the situation on Monday. Here he is.
And really, it just begged guys not to get into the Twitter world right after the game, especially after a loss. It's never going to be positive. It's not going to be a nice place, And I think that's kind of reflected in Lamar's response, because what he said was just so out of character for him. That's not the way he speaks. It's not the way he talks. It's not the words he ever uses. I've never heard him say things like that before. But like you said, Bo, he wants to win. I'm sure he's frustrated, just like we all are. And that's just a place you just don't want to live right after a game. And, I know he understands that. Lamar Jackson, you've been around him. He's got one of the biggest hearts of anybody I know. You all have seen him, the way he treats people, the way he treats kids, the way he treats the media, and he's also one of the biggest competitors I've ever met. So those kind of conversations he takes very seriously, So you get trapped sometimes by someone that's baiting you just a little bit, and you can't live there. It's not important. I see you shaking your head, Luke. You're right, and that's something I love about him. But I think that's not a place he wants to be, and that's certainly not things that he wants to say.
John Harbaugh really handled it well yesterday. Look, here's the bottom line. First of all, the tweet that Lamar Jackson responded to really wasn't all that over the top. It may have just been straw that broke the camel's back for Lamar. You get to the phone after the game, you're on the bus or whatever, and you're scrolling, and you're getting criticized, you're getting called out, and you don't do anything, and then it just takes one. It's just one that catches you. I mean, this from Castle Will Kill. When someone is asking for over $250 million guaranteed, like Lamar Jackson, games like this should not come to Justin Tucker. Let Lamar walk and spend that money on a well-rounded team. That doesn't seem like the kind of thing that would cause somebody to really go off. And the problem is this. And Chris, this is, and we've got the word blurred out at the end, I think this is an example of how language evolves, how a culture evolves, how people come to understand what words really mean. And we get to a point where phrases that get used all the time by the kids and they don't think anything of it, they start to realize, oh, wait, that has a negative connotation. And maybe we shouldn't use that phrase. And I don't think Lamar Jackson was trying to be offensive to anyone. I think he just uses a phrase in that setting that he hears all the time and that he uses from time to time when he's, it's a fairly common insult, unfortunately. And I think we're kind of at a point where this becomes a teachable moment for everyone, that probably not a phrase to use because it does have a negative connotation.
Yeah.
And that's what caused this one to go off the rails for Lamar a little bit.
I agreed. But everybody reads too deep into this, too. Guys, it's just a bad word and a phrase. It's stop everybody looking into, like, this personal meeting and he's offending our culture. Like, don't ever say kiss my ass again, anybody, either way. It's not proper to asses out. We nitpick.
No, Chris, that's not nitpicking. Yeah, you're off base on this one. Kiss my ass does not offend anyone directly, indirectly. No one can make a plausible argument that kiss my ass offends anyone. The phrase that he used, it is a very simple argument as to how it's homophobic. A very simple argument as to how, and the way he used it, the context he used it in, it comes off as homophobic. My point is, he doesn't realize it. He doesn't realize it. It gets used so commonly. And there are words that we could rattle off from the past 50 years that once were fine and dandy.
Sure.
And you just use them, and then all of a sudden, we kind of collectively wake up one day and say, it's probably a good idea if we stop doing that. We grow and we evolve as a people. We do it collectively, and we do it individually. We've all been there throughout the course of our lifespan. My point is, Lamar didn't intend.
No.
I believe. Lamar didn't know. And this is part of his life experience. Just like Jeff Saturday's getting experience on when to use timeouts, Lamar Jackson is getting experience on what he should and shouldn't say on social media and when he should and shouldn't say it. So the phrase itself shouldn't be used. And it's far different than kiss my ass. So I'm sorry, but
either way.
But the bottom line is, I don't think Lamar meant, I can't get inside his head or his heart. I don't think he meant to be offensive.
No.
He just used a phrase that when you look at it, it's kind of offensive.
Okay, yeah, I know everything's offensive though, and I give up on offensive. It's a phrase that's used, and hopefully he learns, and we don't need to do it.
You're teetering close to a line that I don't think you want to be teetering.
Well, no, I just
given
we read too much into it, and we try to then go, oh, we're offending this. That's all I don't love about it. It goes on in everything in our culture. I'm not saying it's an appropriate thing to say. I'm just saying don't start to accuse a guy for that. All right. So either way,
nobody's accusing him of. Nobody's accusing him of being anything. He used a phrase that has a homophobic connotation, and he got called out for it.
Right.
I mean, and we have this free speech debate. Oh, but what about free speech? Well, he exercised his free speech rights by saying what he said.
Right.
And others exercised their free speech rights by saying you probably shouldn't have said it. And then others jump in saying you shouldn't call him out for it. And we're all exercising our free speach rights.
I got you. Listen, lesson learned. And it's something you don't want to do.
As a culture, we learn.
Right. Okay.
We learn what should and shouldn't be said. And maybe there are kids out there who catch wind of this and take their face out of their phone long enough to pay attention and realize, I probably shouldn't use that 3-letter phrase, that 3-word phrase anymore. Maybe it is something that certain people hear it and it makes them uncomfortable because it's offensive to them at some level, even though I don't realize that it is. That's my point.
No, listen, I understand. You always want to be careful there. I get that there. It's also a guy that's social media overtakes that world. Right. He's in an age group where it's part of their world, like you've always talked about. And it's they don't look at the news or stuff like that. They're always looking at social media, and he loves football, and it's a hot button topic. And whenever they lose, that's the thing everybody says on social media. They just blame Lamar. It's all his fault. And, it shouldn't come down to a long field goal if you're making a guarantee. Well, then, man, we should take Tom Brady's, some of the Super Bowl rings away. He had to let Adam Vinatieri kick the field goal. He shouldn't have to do that.
Right.
He's the GOAT. And it's just a bad argument.
Right.
I'm not trying to make an excuse for him. Listen, I learned right there from you in that conversation.
But we live in the world of bad arguments.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Gotcha.
Yes.
And he shouldn't use that phrase. I want to be very clear. I get that. I just sometimes I just feel like things are taken down another path that I just go, man, it wasn't intended for that. And I understand it's not something I would say. And I don't ever say it to anybody. So I'm not trying to defend it. I just get exhausted of everything going that way. That's all I was trying to say. I'm not trying to offend anybody.
And I know that. And I'm not trying to call you out. My concern is this. The people out there who are constantly railing against cancel culture and free speech, they just want to be able to say whatever the hell they want without regard to who it may bother. Don't put any guardrails on me. I just want to be an asshole all the time, and I don't want any consequence for it, and I don't want to think about the fact that it may bother someone else to hear it. I just want to be a bully. I want to be a bully, and I want to be an asshole all the time. That's what those people are saying when they constantly deride cancel culture and say free speech, free speech, free speech. I should be able to say whatever I want with no consequence whatsoever. That's not what free speech means, as it's codified in the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.